initiative. So I am going to start taking a back seat. My name is Sibel. Please come talk to me. Leanne and I are the co-leads here of the Hampton Roads BB group, Mama's Demand Action. But I want you to hear the students' voices. So here we go, Vivian. Take it away. You can stand up there or not. It's up to you. Okay. Oh, cool. There we go.
Hi, good morning.
All right, you still got to speak loud and close to that.
Hi, good morning,
We
everyone.
are training the future leaders.
My name is Vivian, and I've been involved in Students Demand Action for a few years now.
Hold on, I want to make it loud. This is a mentorship, leadership in training. I am making this louder for her. All right, is that louder? No, I went the other way. Is that louder? Yes. Okay, this is leadership in training. She's amazing, and I want you to hear her profound words.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Hi, my name is Vivian. I've been involved in Students Demand Action for a while now, and I'm now the events lead here. Having just come back from Gun Sense University in DC, I'm so excited by all the growing passion and dedication that people from all over the country have for this issue, and I'm really hopeful for the future. I originally got involved in this movement after Parkland, when I was inspired by the students who led a mass movement to demand action to ensure the safety of our generation and generations after us. But as my journey through this movement progressed, I realized that as devastating and heartbreaking as mass shootings are, there's so much more to the conversation. Every single day, 100 Americans are shot and killed, and hundreds more are wounded. Firearms are the second leading cause of death for children and teens in America, and the first leading cause of death for Black children and teens. In an average month in this country, 52 women are shot to death by an intimate partner, and the risk of death doubles for women of color. And I no longer want to hear that common sense gun legislation isn't a solution to this problem, because we know that access to a gun doubles the risk of death for homicide, triples the risk of death for suicide, and makes it 5 times more likely for a woman to be killed in a domestic violence situation. This isn't the America that I want to grow up in, and I know I'm not alone. We are tired of waiting, we are tired of asking, and we are tired of being angry and heartbroken, especially when we know that there are solutions. It is past time for our senators to listen to their constituents and to pass law to require background checks on every single gun sale and to pass federal red flag gun legislation. Today we are here to demand the Senate to take action and to invest in the safety of our country.
Hi everyone, I'm Arlen. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay,
A little
making sure.
closer and really shout it out.
Hi, I'm Arlen. I've been with Students Demand for a while now as well. Alright, so after hearing of the El Paso mass shooting, the shooting in Dayton, Ohio, and after hearing of the gun violence in Chicago that claimed the lives of 59 people, all of which happened in the same weekend, all I could think to myself was that this is the time of reckoning. This is the time, it has been time, and it is for our leaders and for us as people to do some serious soul searching. It's time for us to evaluate exactly who it is we are, who we want to be, and what legacy we'll choose to leave behind, and what it will mean for the history of our nation. Despite pushback from majority Republican officials who prioritize their NRA ratings and reputations over the overwhelming sentiments of the American people, I refuse to believe that no more can be done about these senseless acts of terror in our own backyards, in our community. I refuse to believe that the leaders of our country would rather choose to disregard the problem of gun violence than to take immediate action to protect the very people they serve. Being said, we have to make ourselves heard, advocating for red flag laws, which were voted down by the Virginia General Assembly earlier this year, and advocating for the extensive background checks on all gun sales is how we're going to get things done. H.R. 8, the Bipartisan Background Checks Act of 2019, passed the House with 240 House representatives voting for it in February, 8 being Republicans. This bill needs to be brought to the floor to be voted on. What we need is for Senate to be back in session and voting on these, might I say, common sense gun safety legislation to prevent further carnage and loss of life in cities across the country. Time is so valuable. Time is so valuable, and every day that Senate isn't in session is another day of no bipartisan work, no action, and quite frankly is another day of neglect of an issue that I believe precedes all of us. Mitch McConnell's need to call the Senate back in session and take up this legislation. There should be no waiting, no recess when this work needs to be done. Time is a privilege that we have on our side, and it's something that many victims have lost. Let's use it. It's not easy getting our leaders to pay attention when they're actively choosing to look the other way, but coming together to raise the voices of one another, to hear each other's stories, and to do the groundwork that's essential to solidifying a future that we want for our community is of the utmost importance. What we need to do for the victims of the 251 plus mass shootings this year alone, and what we need to do for the sanity of ourselves, is change the system that has failed us time and time again. As many of you are. Remain dedicated citizens of our communities and continue energizing the work that is actively being done right here, right now. So let's be vigilant, let's look forward, vote, and continue this fight for what we truly believe in. Thank you.
Hi guys.
Yeah, okay, jump right into it, Connor.
Hi guys. My name is Connor, and bear with me, I've not given a speech like this in front of this many people in quite a while, but I couldn't think of a better cause to do it for today, so I'm here.
You got this, Connor! You got this!
On Friday, December 14th, 2012, the day of the Sandy Hook school shooting, I came home from school excited to go on a Boy Scout camping trip later that day. Once I got off my bus stop, I was greeted by my mom, who gave my sister and me one of the tightest hugs I've ever experienced from her. I looked up at her confused as to why she was hugging us so tightly. She told us that a very bad man did something horrible to some children our age, and she was very happy to see us. She then hugged us again, and we walked inside. I, of course, did not know what she meant by this. The only thing at the time I could think of was that a child got kidnapped, because that was the only thing I thought that could happen to children when I was that young. Now, if you excuse me, I'm trying to find where I left off.
That's fine.
She kept refusing to tell me, and she finally said that she wanted me to enjoy my trip, and that she might tell me when I got back. She then told me to go finish packing so we could leave after dinner. I went on that trip that weekend, and I forgot all about it. When I got back on Sunday evening, my mom asked me the usual questions. How was the trip? Did you have fun? Did you do anything interesting? Etc. She then wanted me to talk to me about something very important. She sat me down and she told me that a very bad man hurt a lot of kids, but she didn't really go into a bunch of details. I asked her what she meant, and she finally told me that he shot and killed a bunch of innocent people at their school. I was speechless. I couldn't comprehend what happened, nor did I think this was a common occurrence. 2 years after the tragedy at Sandy Hook, my 7th grade year, we had what turned out to be a lockdown drill, but at the time was treated like a real drill. Or a real lockdown, sorry. I remember the sense of panic that went through my body, so severe that it has only happened a handful of times in my life. Sorry. My teacher had this look on their face that I would never forget. One kid in my class was so scared that he started praying under his breath. Once it was over and we realized that it was just a drill, some of the kids made fun of him for praying, but I completely understood why he did. He was fearing for his life. I lost my space again. It was that day that I knew that gun violence was a critical issue in our society. That moment, I knew we needed to do something as a people to protect not just the students and teachers, but everyone. This is not just an issue that impacts one group of people. This affects Republicans, Democrats, men, women, the poor, the rich, African Americans, Latino Americans, white Americans, people of all religions. Everyone is affected by this. I started talking about this issue more and more with anyone who would listen. Family members, friends, classmates, teachers. And I'll admit, I didn't know everything back then, but what I did know is that we as a country needed to do something. Fast forward to the summer before my freshman year of high school. I was hanging out with some friends, and when I found out about the Pulse nightclub shooting, this hit closer to home for me because I myself am a member of the LGBTQ community. And to find out that dozens of people were massacred for who they love really took me back. While we may never be able to get rid of all hate, we can definitely disarm it. We cannot allow people with this kind of prejudice, people who want to harm others, to own weapons of war. It's simple. After hearing about all of these tragedies year after year after year, I always in the back of my mind never thought it would happen here. Never in my city would this senseless killing happen. That all changed when one day my mom turned on the news to see the weather, like she always does, to find out that there was an active shooter situation at a municipal building in my city. This time it was different. What I thought would never happen here had happened. Now, common sense would tell you that if most Americans want something, like requiring background checks for people that want to purchase a gun, their representatives in government would listen to their constituents and act on their behalf.
You would think.
Yeah. Amen. However, that only happens in a world where common sense sets the rules for how our politicians represent their constituents. If our representatives in government did what they were supposed to do, their job, we wouldn't have to be here today advocating for steps that should have been taken a long time ago. Mothers should not have to be here advocating for universal background checks, an idea that has overwhelming support from Americans across the political spectrum. Students such as myself, Arlen and Vivian, should not have to be here begging our lawmakers to make our schools safer. With all that said, we are here, standing together, united, and telling our elected officials to fulfill one of their most basic responsibilities: protect the people they represent. We are here telling those lawmakers that refuse to do their duty with their days in office are numbered. They need to know that they should either do what needs to be done to protect us, or they should start packing up their office. We must reject the notion that guns don't kill people, people kill people, because it is guns that give people the tools to kill people. That is why I support red flag laws to give friends, family, and law enforcement the ability to give people the ability to get guns out of hands of those they think pose a threat to themselves or others. Red flag laws say if a judge thinks you pose a risk to yourself or others, you don't get to have access to a gun. It's a simple common sense concept that I know we can get it done. We can save so many lives. It is an honor to be surrounded by everyone gathered here today. It gives me hope to see that you are willing to be one of the voices of change. Change that can and will save lives. We must keep up the pressure